Good morning, good afternoon, and good day wherever you may be joining us from. Welcome to another edition of Sales TV Live. Today, we're leveraging the untapped potential of referrals. We're joined by Joanne Black, an acclaimed author. Joanne has penned essential reads in the sales field, including No More Cold Calling and my favorite title, Pick Up the Damn Phone: How People, Not Technology, Seal the Deal. Joanne brings unparalleled insights into why traditional lead generation methods are falling short and how referrals can become your most powerful sales tool. Joanne, welcome.
It's a treat, Rob. This is my favorite topic.
Fantastic. We're so glad to have you here. Joanne, let's start by having you tell us a little bit more about you, your background, and what led you to where you are today.
I've always been in sales. So my first job out of college was a sales job. And in hindsight, it was a referral. So my uncle knew somebody there and introduced me. And that's how it started. And that's really where I learned how to sell. That selling was not pushing, it was giving people options, sharing information, and having them make the right decision. Because I never thought I'd be in sales. I'm
Right.
basically an introvert. And I thought, oh no, I'm not the life of the party. How can I be in sales? Well, that all changed. And so that's how it started way back then out of college. And I'm not telling you how many years ago that was. You can kind of guess. So, um, fast forward, I joined a company that only worked with banks. It was years ago. And I was the first non banker they ever hired. And I was with them for 8 years in sales and sales management roles. And then I went to another company because people thought I only knew banks. Well, I never worked in a bank in my life. And so that other company was like everything. My territory was the Silicon Valley, because as you know, I live in the San Francisco Bay Area. And then I got tired of, I don't know, all this technical term stuff. And my colleagues were saying to me, Joanne, you should start your own company. It was 1996. The economy was great. So I thought, okay, why not? But it had nothing to do with referrals at the time. I thought what I wanted to do was work with companies, smaller companies, to build a sales plan within their business plan, because back then you couldn't find a sales plan with a magnifying glass. Now, serendipitously, my first client was doing a customer satisfaction survey of 50 of their best clients, and it was several rounds. And I added this question on the last round: would you be willing to be a referral to this company? Well, it was a 7 point scale, seven was high. My question came back 6.5. So
Wow.
that really was like an aha for me. Yeah, I always knew referrals were the best business, but I had to check it out. And I went back to the management team and I said, 50 of your clients are saying they'd be glad to refer you. Are you asking? But the answer was no. Not surprising, but it's also no in 2025, or when anybody is listening to this, because people aren't asking. And there's lots of reasons for it. So, pretty logical person. So I decided I'm going to talk to salespeople, sales execs I knew, and ask them. So I asked them, do they love to get referrals? Of course, they gave me this long list. And then I asked this question: do you have a referral system, a methodology with a strategy, with metrics, with skills, and with accountability for results? Well, again, the answer was no then, and it's no today. And so I identified this huge gap, that referrals are really happenstance, and nobody had a system. So I created that. And that is almost 29 years ago. And you know what? The answer is still the same, and the system is working better than ever.
So, like most people in business or sales, I have been referred to people at some point. So, uh, assuming that somebody out there is competent at what they do, and they deliver or exceed the expectations that they've been set, what would that be their first steps in actually asking people for a referral? I know, you don't ask, you don't get, but what is a simple way to get people into this kind of mindset of doing that?
That's a tough question to answer, Adam, but I'm going to go back to the first thing you said, which is you've gotten referrals. I want to make the distinction. There's a difference between what I call inbound referrals. So, somebody contacts you and says, so-and-so suggested I talk to you, versus outbound referrals where we proactively ask and we have a system, we have metrics for referrals. That's not happening. And that's the huge gap in referral selling. It's all inbound for the most part. And if it's outbound, it's kind of hit and miss. So to your point, there's a lot that gets in the way of asking. And I don't know if this is to your point or not, but what I've learned over the years is that we're all human beings, and referral selling is the most personal kind of selling we can do. After all, we put our reputation on the line and we think, oh my gosh, what if they say no? Or I feel like the used car salesman, or it feels desperate, or it feels pushy, it feels arrogant. And all this comes in the fore. And it's a perception, and the perceptions are real. And why not? It's kind of weird. What if they say no? Or the desperate thing is, the thinking is, if I were really successful, well, I wouldn't have to ask. Well, we know that's not true, because good salespeople don't sit back and wait. So we need to flip the script and be proactive in asking. Now, would you ask me your question again, Adam?
No, I think that's nailed it, because when we are teaching people how to use social media, one of the things we say to them is you should ask people for recommendations, because somebody else saying nice things about you is a really positive thing, and this is not a million miles away from that. And often people feel really uncomfortable with doing that, but when you say to somebody, if a plumber comes to your house to fix a leaky sink, and they do a really good job, and they say at the end, were you happy with the job? Yeah, delighted with it. Would you mind writing a testimonial for me? Everyone says, of course I will. Exactly the same thing, isn't it? You tee it up and you say, are you happy with what I've done for you? Yes. Do you know anyone else that could benefit from this? And if they say, no, I'm not happy with this. Okay, well, how can I make it better? How can I put that problem right? So everything's an opportunity if you have a positive mindset, isn't it?
I agree. It is an opportunity. And I want to address the language, because you asked me that a few minutes ago, that the way to ask is not, do you know anybody you could refer me to? Now, this is two reasons why no. First of all, you've asked the question where they can say no.
Mm.
Sometimes we do want a no answer, but in this case, we don't. So that's really one reason. The other is, do you know anybody? Well, I don't know a person named anybody. You see, when we ask for a referral, we have the opportunity to ask for exactly what we want. So if you want to meet the head of sales, if you want to meet whoever it is, you're going to name that role and give examples of the work you've done in that space. You see, we need to educate our referral sources on how to introduce us. And a referral means an introduction, period, end of story. And there's a difference between a referral, a recommendation, and a reference. So a referral means you get the introduction. That's it. Does that help?
Oh, that's fantastic.
Good.
And when you describe it like that, it seems so obvious. And that's the beauty of it, isn't it? All the best ideas are.
Yes, and it is obvious, but we face this fear. It really is a fear of asking. And I know I had that initially as well. When I worked for the second consulting firm, I remember I was asking, and wasn't a system then, and I just got so like in here, you know, anxious because here's what people say, and I don't want anybody to use this term. They'll say, I'd like you to do me a favor. It's not a favor, because a favor means you do something for me, I do something for you. It's not a favor. You're asking for their help. And that's a great phrase to use.
Mm.
But you need to be clear about what you're looking for, because people want to make a good introduction. I mean, that's been my experience for all these years. Because, Adam, if I'm introducing you, I need to know you're a credible resource that will take care of my connection as I would.
Mm.
So my reputation's on the line as well. And people really want to help and make a good introduction. And if you find one or two that don't, okay, they're not your people. Well, maybe they are, but they're not my people.
Joanne, you mentioned intentionality and a methodology behind it. What are the steps involved needed to build a robust referral pipeline?
Love that question. I mean, it's like anything else we do. And think of it this way: whenever you start on any initiative, you have a strategy. Has to be. So the strategy is, what do we want from this? What do I want in the end? What's going to happen? What are the metrics I need? All of that before we ever do anything else. And for me, a strategy can be 3 sentences or even 1. It doesn't matter. But I need to know that, because in the work we do together, we're going to go toward that goal. Every single step will get us to that goal. And if it's not realistic, I'll let them know, because I'm pretty straightforward. So as I say, well, most people know me. They know I'm a nice person, but they also know I'm no bullshit. So if we're working together on a referral system, we're working together. And that's how it goes. And there's accountability on both ends. So the first strategy, again, it could be 3 sentences. 1 sentence, doesn't matter. What's the outcome you want? Second, what are the metrics? And there's different kinds of metrics, right? There's accountability metrics for revenue, which in business is typically the key. But there's also accountability metrics for activities, such as how many people I'm going to ask this week. It's pretty obvious, but if you don't ask, you don't get. So that's the first metric, period. And then after that, how many referral meetings did I schedule? How many did I conduct? What was the outcome? And it could be the outcome, maybe this person wasn't a fit, but they're going to refer you to somebody else in their organization or somebody else they know. Maybe they are a fit and you schedule the next meeting. So you're going to track all of this. Once the meeting is scheduled, that's a metric. Conducted is a metric. And then whatever the outcome is for that, and we hope it's a referral or they're doing business with us. And so that's the kind of metrics we need to set, not only for our team, but for each individual. And each individual needs to have the referral goals in their KPIs when we're talking a company. If you're an individual business owner, you're still going to need those metrics, but they will vary for you. Then the next is referral selling is a skill. We don't always think about that. And people think, oh, I just have to go ask for a referral. Well, maybe they've gotten lucky, but lucky doesn't, well, it's not sustainable, but a system is, because everything goes and falls to a system. And any skill needs to be reinforced and coached. But the most important is the accountability, right? So without that, nothing happens. Absolutely nothing. And then the execution. So a client years ago said to me, Joanne, the challenge is always in the execution. And I've seen it, because you just don't want something that, oh yeah, we're going to do this now. And then 3 months later, 6 months later, it's forgotten. This is a strategic initiative.
So here's an interesting question for you. Clearly, you believe in referrals as being the right, and I use the word right in the loosest sense, the right strategy. So is the idea that this replaces everything else? Because clearly, if I've got 5 customers and each of those 5 customers introduce me to 10 people, 10% of which I convert into clients, I've then got 5 more customers who introduce me to 10 people, 10% of those I get. So this actually could replace all of my outbound sales and marketing activity, couldn't it, if I do it right?
I don't believe it replaces things like that. It's on top of it. So let me explain. If every company has outbound marketing, of course we need to do that. I mean, that's our blueprint, really. And that's what people look for. You need to build that credibility. And many times you do that through outbound marketing. And of course, social media, Adam, which is, so essential today. And LinkedIn specifically. LinkedIn used to have this button you could click and ask somebody to refer you. And I tell you, I was so glad when they removed that, because you don't know the relationship people have on LinkedIn. You know that, Adam, right? We all know that. Did they just click a button, or do people really have a relationship? And we have to find that out first. But people are glad to help when you have that relationship. So the answer is no, you don't eliminate everything else. It really boosts your credibility and your network.
Fantastic.
How do you address any hesitations from clients who might be reluctant to make referrals? Not specifically refer me, but I don't do referrals in general.
Well, short answer, then they're not my client. So, and here's why. I'd have to dig a little bit, of course. But if you find they're reticent and they don't want to have the strategy and then metrics, oh, I can't hold people accountable, all of that, we're just not going to start. There's no play there.
I mean more along the lines of a client that you are working with, and they encounter a client who is hesitant, reluctant to make a referral. How would you coach them through that process?
Well, a big part of it is how they ask. Now, if they have the relationship, first of all, I've never had anybody say no in almost 29 years to me or my clients. But you have to ask the right way as well. And you have to be sure you have that relationship. I mean, for many of us, yes, we have a business relationship with our clients, but we also know a lot about them otherwise. I mean, I have friends, I know about their families. I mean, all this kind of thing, because I want to know the full picture of these people. And so I haven't had that happen, but it's asking the right way. And I'm going to give you some language for everybody listening. Remember, it's not, do you know anyone? Because, okay, you haven't given me the picture. I have no clue what you're talking about. It's who are one or two people you know, and you've already had the conversation. You could say someone just like you. Who? And then you want to go back to what was the issue, the reason they came to you, because that's what you're looking for. You want to find a prospect who has that or a similar issue, because then they will need you.
And how does a salesperson identify the best opportunities for asking for referrals without coming across too pushy?
Well, if you have the relationship, it's not pushy. And again, I said that people are glad to help. I mean, if you look at clients, all right, they are busy. They don't always know what we want or what we need, but they're glad to help. And sometimes we think if we had a great client, well, why haven't they referred me? But that's not accurate. They haven't referred you because, first of all, they don't know who you're looking for. They don't know you need more business, which is really ironic because who doesn't? It can get crazy busy, but we figure it out. And so they're just not thinking of us day to day. We need to bring to the fore the problem they had initially, and then what happened as a result of working together. What's the outcome? People pay attention to that.
So if you were to emphasize the one thing you would want our audience to take away from today's episode, what would that one thing be?
How to ask, because that's the first thing. If you don't ask, you don't get, right? So remember, who are one or two people you know, and then you're going to tell them specifically who you're looking for. Again, people want to connect you with the right person because if their reputation's on the line as well. You get what you ask for, so ask for exactly what you want.
Love that. That's great. Joanne, this has been great. How can people learn more? Where can they get in touch with you?
Well, certainly on LinkedIn. And here's the thing, you build a relationship there first. So you need to invite me and say, you've listened to this episode, because then I know. If you just click a button, I'm probably not going to accept. I'm going to ignore. We start building relationships there. So that's one way. The other is send me an email, Joanne, Joanne, at nomorecoldcalling.com, or go to my website, nomorecoldcalling.com. And here's something you can do from my homepage. There's a referral IQ quiz. It's 14 yes/no questions, takes less than 3 minutes, because after all, it's yes or no, you do it or you don't. So take the quiz and you'll see how you do, because that's the baseline for referral selling.
Fantastic.
Brilliant.
And now we're going to practice a little bit of what we just learned. If you liked what you heard today, please take a moment to leave a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube. Let us know what you learned and what you'd like to learn more about. Your feedback helps us reach more people like you and fulfill our mission of elevating the profession of sales. This has been another edition of Sales TV Live. On behalf of everyone at Sales TV, to our guest Joanne, and to our audience, thank you all for being an active part in today's conversation, and we'll see you next time.